Well, hello everyone. We're back with another creator who's built some amazing things inside of the Minecraft marketplace, and we're joined today by JWolf. So JWolf is relatively newly in the Minecraft marketplace. Ships a Wolves Plus add-on, which you're going to hear about today, which is pretty incredible, and has lots of great things, lots of great features that you're going to hear about. JWolf is also sort of growing the size of his studio and all that kind of good fun stuff, and so he'll maybe take us into a little bit of that journey as well. There's one small issue. It's probably a Microsoft Teams issue, which is what we're using to do a lot of this video behind the scenes. You might not be able to see JWolf on camera, but what you can see is one of the JWolf's first creations has a lot of bookshelves. And with that, JWolf, why don't you take it away? Tell us about your bookshelves and tell us about Wolves Plus.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks, Mike. Yeah, so about the bookshelves, yeah, so that is from a survival world that I have with one of my friends. We built this library and it came out pretty cool. We thought it was nice, but then the RTX update ended up coming out where we had access to ray tracing, and I went ahead and activated it on this world, and I found that it was actually like really cool, so I took another screenshot of it. That's kind of what that is right there. But yeah, so I'm here to talk today about some rendering methods that I use in Wolf's Plus. So I'm gonna go ahead and kind of get going here. So I'm gonna talk a bit about me, and about Wolf's Plus, just in case you're unfamiliar with the add-on. I'll introduce that a bit as well. And then I'll dive right into the actual rendering methods that I use in Wolf's Plus. So about me. I am, as you know, a Minecraft Marketplace partner. I am the lead of JWolf Creations. I've been playing Minecraft since 2014. I started back on the Pocket Edition Alpha version 090, which is an interesting thing because I went back and I was looking at it, and that's actually the update that we received. I think the ability to tame wolves in Minecraft Bedrock Edition is ultimately what that was going to be. So I just found that fascinating. I mean, one of my main add-ons is, an add-on about wolves, and the update where I start playing Minecraft is the one that, you can start taming wolves. But yeah, so I've been creating add-ons since 2016 as well. And actually, as a matter of fact, one of my first add-ons would be actually Wolves Plus. It's been a 9+ year journey so far as I've been working on this add-on. It's been quite some time. It's been a fun journey. Initially, it was released for free on MCP This add-on introduces new mechanics for wolves, new wolf types, and new wolf-related armor and tools. So, for instance, if a wolf happens to run out of HP, right, there are mechanics in place with Wolf Plus for you to be able to revive that wolf. There's also, certain wolves that appear in different dimensions, like the Netherhound, the Ender Wolf, right, things like that. Wolf's Plus itself has undergone several rewrites as Minecraft evolves, just because of the changing technology under the hood. We've gotten access to different tech over these 9 years. So we had things like the holiday creator features for a little while, and now we have scripting. So I've been kind of going through to not only keep it functioning, but also to kind of continue to update it and give it more features over time. So I've been kind of working on this just on nonstop ongoing for these past years. And also, it was recently upgraded for the marketplace, so you can actually find Wolves Plus on the marketplace right now. And it just recently got the Creaking Wolf update, so you can actually find the Creaking Wolf in the Pale Garden if you have the add-on installed. So, as far as why Wolves Plus, why I've been working on it for so long, well, Wolves rather, are my favorite Minecraft mob. I'm one of those guys who will probably, over the course of a survival world, I'll probably end up taming anywhere from like 15 to 20 wolves. That's just kind of how it goes. This actually, the screenshot over here with all the wolves here on the staircase here, this is actually the same build as that has that library. Actually, that's my picture right now. But these wolves were actually all like scattered throughout the world because we have different, builds that we have, right? So I kind of brought them all together here for this group picture. So I was able to kind of take a picture of everybody there. And then another thing about it too is that as I've been working on this add-on, I've learned a lot about actually real life wolves, and I've kind of come to appreciate a bit more, the subtleties of their behaviors and things like that. I'd like to try at some point to get the like pack dynamics working, so you can actually find like packs of wolves that are traveling together and things like that. I think that'd be so cool. Um, but yeah, so as I've been working on this add-on, a question that's kind of come up several times now is about how the actual rendering works for the wolves. Because when you look at, for example, a husky, right, in Wolf's Plus, right, the husky, it is made up of different layers, right? So you have the collar, which is separate from pretty much the rest of the base wolf texture, right? But even beyond that, the husky itself is actually made up of several different texture layers. There's the base white fur color, then there's an overlay for the black coat that it may have, and then there's also, in the case of huskies, they can have different eye colors. So there's a way to there's a certain rendering logic in place to kind of allow those four, as I'm counting it now, four different layers to render all at the same time on top of each other, and for you to still be able to do things like color the wolf collar and things like that without it like causing the entire wolf to change color, right? So a core component of that is going to be entity materials. Entity materials are used to create different effects with entities. So things like transparencies and glowing effects, all of that is ultimately determined by what material the wolf is using, whether you're going to be able to do the texture layering. All of these different things ultimately come down to entity materials. There's some vanilla Minecraft, there's some materials that are available in vanilla that we have access to that are actually quite handy for creating different effects, right? So we have entity alpha test, which is used for transparency, and we have entity emissive alpha, which is used for the glowing effect, right? So to give an example here, we have Zeta here. I had him pose for this one. Got Zeta in a skeleton wolf form here on the left. So you can see here that because he's a skeleton wolf, you can see through the geometry because he's just, made of bones, right? So it's like you would expect in a normal vanilla skeleton even. You can see through the blocks that actually make up the structure. So over here with the creaking wolf, we have the entity emissive alpha material at play that allows the eyes to actually have this glowing effect. Both of these wolves, the skeleton wolf and the creaking wolf, have the exact same base geometry, but depending on the material that's used, right, when you combine that with the texture, you get very different results. And then there's also the concept of the multi-layer, which is what I was talking about with the husky. This is a little bit more complex, but I'm going to also be talking about that in a little bit in more detail. But you can see here that there's the base wolf texture here, and then there's an overlay on top of it that makes the prismarine wolf look, right? So in order to kind of explain these in a bit better detail, I'm actually going to have to go ahead and demo some of all of this, right? So I'm going to go ahead and switch over here to Minecraft. And as you can see here, I've got a wolf, right? His texture, he's just got the white base texture. Not a whole lot going on. He's just, here. Um, so if I switch over to the code, I can show you how that works under the hood. So one of the main things I'd like to draw your attention to here would be the, probably should zoom to the side. So this render controller definition here, controller.render JWP demo wolf default. This render controller is going to be in charge of actually determining how the wolf looks when it's in the game. So this guy takes the things you've defined in materials, textures, and geometry, puts them all together, and lo and behold, after you've got that set up, now you've got a wolf in the game. So to look at this render controller here so you can see what's going on, that's actually here under render controllers, and your resource pack is going to be under the render controllers directory. Oh, and I should also mention too, I guess by now you probably have figured, but this demo assumes that you already have a entity defined. If you don't have an entity built yet, I would recommend taking a look at the demo that Mike gave yesterday, actually, on the day one of the Creator Camp. He gave a really good demo on how you can use some convenient tools to actually create your first Minecraft mob. It's actually really easy to do. And once you've got that defined, then you can actually come and do this part of it where you're actually changing now the way that the entity renders. So if you want to make your ghost have glowing eyes, right? Your custom ghost mob, you can actually do that with these methods. So anyway, continuing on, we have the render controller here defined under the render controllers directory. So if I open that up, it's actually going to be this over here. I've done a split screen view here. So we have the render controller defined. This same name that's here is actually up here too. So there's our render controller defined. It's the render controllers have three primary components. It's going to be the geometry, the materials, and the textures, right? So we have all the defaults are what we're using right now. So if you look at your entity definition, right, you've got under materials, you've got a default material. That's what's in use right here, material.default. Textures, we've got a default. That's what's used. So that's defined here, right, in this folder. We're using that right here under texture.default. And then the geometry is going to be this here. And we named it also default here. That's what's in use here. This is effectively just a render controller that's using all the defaults. It's pretty basic, straightforward, and to the point. But that's what's actually in play right now with the wolf that I've just shown you on in game. So if I were to actually want to give it the glowing effect, oh wait, no. Let's actually start with the skeleton wolf because I have the skeleton wolf texture as well. So under textures, I've got a definition for skeleton. So that one is actually going to be the skeleton wolf that I showed you earlier in the presentation. So if I change the texture from default to skeleton here, right? He's using the default material, which is entity alpha test. So if I go ahead and I come back over here, I'm going to need to reload. Cow. Going to go ahead and wait for it to load. It looks like it's going. Uh-oh, stay with me, Minecraft. Okay, there we go. Okay, so while that loads, I'll go ahead and kind of show, let's see. If I were to go over here and open up this texture here, I can show you, oh, not in the code editor though, run by system. So if I show you this texture here, go ahead and use GIMP for that too. So while that's loading, and that's loading, okay. Okay, well, kind of just hanging out here for a second for Minecraft to load.
Just a quick question while we're waiting for Minecraft to load. What's your favorite?
Sure.
What's your favorite wolf fact?
So one of my favorite wolf facts here would be that wolves are actually family groups. They pretty much are the two parent wolves, right? And then you have all the other wolves in the pack are generally going to be all of the different like siblings. You know, they're all brothers and sisters of each other. So it is just an interesting thing that they're like they're families. You know, they're not necessarily just a wolf going out into the wild and claiming this pack for itself per se. It's more like they're 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 all related. So I think that's pretty cool.
Awesome. Well, while we're still continuing to wait for it to load, another question: how'd you learn to do these effects? Was it through looking at vanilla packs? Was it through tinkering? Something else?
So it was actually through a lot of tinkering and also vanilla packs. So a bit of both. So the vanilla, there's actually a vanilla behavior pack and resource pack documentation that you can find. And that gives you access to see a lot of the different ways that entities are actually normally rendered in Minecraft, right? So you can see the definitions and what materials they're using, what textures they're using. And based off of some, tinkering and educated guesses and things like that, you can come up with some different effects and things like this. So here you can see that I actually changed it to the skeleton wolf texture, but he's actually not showing up, except for his eyes. They're kind of there floating, you can see. And this is actually because of a small oversight on my part. I just realized right now that I actually set up the texture in game a little bit differently. Hang on. I think I may have lost. Okay, there we go. That's what's wrong. Okay, there we go. So over here in GIMP, I can show you the texture. At least I think I can. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so on the texture, remember I told you that the transparent parts of the texture are going to end up being transparent. So over here, you can kind of barely see that the eyes are actually the only thing in the skeleton wolf texture that are actually visible here. So what I need to do is actually remove that transparency that I put literally everywhere else, to actually make it so that we can see the rest of the skeleton wolf. Um, there we go, transparency. So I'm going to go ahead and remove that really quick, threshold alpha. I'm going to take all that back off, and there we go. Now you can actually see the rest of the texture. The transparency has been removed. So I'm going to go ahead and save that. And then export. So let me go ahead and do a quick reload so that we can actually see the skeleton wolf load up. Yeah, but I guess while it's loading, I can take any other questions.
Yeah, so question from Galdor Villanueva. Do you know how to make your entity's color biome dependent? So, for example, like the grass block maybe does change its color a little bit. Is there a way to make the entity's color biome dependent?
That is interesting, and I don't know of a way to do that like without using some behavior side logic. There are ways to do that if you have some logic set up on the behavior side to, for example, set certain color values based off of the biome. You would use like an environment sensor in some events to see what biome to see what biome the entity is in, and then kind of remix the color based off of what biome is detected.
I think there's probably a creator out there who's yelling at their screen right now that if we only had Molang biome queries, then you could do a lot more fun things with entities with respect to biomes, including the color, probably including inside of the render controller too. So definitely biome Molang queries is on the radar for sure, and we're working on it. But I'll let you
Yeah,
get
that
back to.
definitely.
I'll let you
Yeah,
get
yeah,
back
of
to it.
course. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, the biome stuff definitely. I would be it would be great to have a bit more on that front. But yeah, it's good to hear. The skeleton wolf. Yeah, so now you can actually see them, and then of course, yeah, since we have the entity alpha test texture in play now, it's actually rendering the way we expected it to. So let me go ahead and back out of here. So I'm gonna jump right to the kind of like putting the husky texture together. So I'm going to go ahead and change this back now to the default. So if you remember the default, that was where the wolf was completely white and it didn't have any kind of much design on it at all. I've also got texture definitions in here for black fur and brown eyes, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually use a new render controller to layer these on top of the original default. So I'm going to go over here. I do believe it is this one. Yeah, I can move that over here. So I've actually predefined these already. So you can see the black fur here, the black fur texture goes with the black fur render controller. So we're using the same geometry, still default. And this time I've changed the texture to be black fur because that's what we're using. We don't want to put default again because if we put default again, it's just going to put another layer of the white texture and we don't want that. So you select the black fur, you put that there. And then you use actually a different material here. So this material, I've just named it layers. But under the hood, it's actually referencing the iron golem. So this is another vanilla material that we were just talking about earlier, where you start tinkering and kind of looking at the game's files a little bit, in the vanilla documentation, right? you can see the iron golem actually has a multi-layer texture at play. If you've ever noticed how the iron golems begin to get a bit of a cracked texture as they take damage, they actually that is the cracks on the iron golem are actually a separate texture being overlaid on top of the base. This material here is what allows that to work. So we can actually reference that and put it inside of our demo wolf mob, right, as a new material definition, and put that inside of a render controller. So with this render controller being defined, and then the brown eyes one being defined in pretty much the same way, except that it's using the brown eyes, the texture instead of the black fur, right? Want to make sure you have separate textures defined. We can actually come back over here now. And what you want to do, these are defined, but they're not actually being used right now. So you want to add those to the mob. So you kind of come over here and I can duplicate these out. So we can go select black fur, put that one next, and then the brown eyes, put that one next. And so what's going to happen is the game is going to render this one first, and then it's going to layer that one on top afterwards, and then it's going to layer the third one. So if I go back, go ahead and reload that so you can actually see how it goes. Hmm. You have any other questions about
Yeah.
that?
So
Yeah.
a question from Wild Goat: are there any stats in the pack to let you know which ones are collected and how many more you have to collect? A little meta about Wolves Plus.
Right, yeah. So I don't actually have a stat like that yet, but that's actually a really good idea. Probably could do something like that. I also wonder if that would be a good candidate for even doing a collab with JWolf's
Yeah,
computers add-on, kind of tracking that stat. I think that'd be kind of cool.
that would be very cool.
Um, yeah, so it may that is definitely something that I would consider for a future update.
All right, looks like it's almost there. Come on, Minecraft.
You got this, buddy. Yeah, so this is the only thing is that when you're testing out things resource side, you do tend to need to reload the game. So, just that little detail there. But yeah, see, we've got as you remember, it was colored white before, but now he's actually also got the black fur texture and he's got the brown eyes texture also added on top. So it's rendered in order from white fur to black fur to brown eyes. And so yeah, that's essentially in a nutshell how Wolves Plus handles this particular detail with the rendering wolves. The rendering goes in order from the white to the white fur that's on the base, right? The base texture to the black fur that's rendered on top of the white, and then you have the brown eye texture that's right after that. Yeah, those three different layers rendered one after the other, so that allows you to kind of combine three distinct textures and put them all together to create a design. And the reason that the husky is designed in this way is because there are different coat colors that you can get, and there's also different eye colors even. Because huskies, they sometimes have one blue eye, one brown eye, right? So that's something that you can find with Wolf's Plus, and all of those things are kind of added. They're generated on the fly, right? So you have one husky definition, but you have many different ways that a husky could be actually rendered in depending on the variant data. Yep. So that's pretty much it in a nutshell, I think I'd say.
Well, all right. I guess definitely a less technical question, but which one's your favorite Wolf variant?
My favorite wolf variant in Wolf's Plus. Oh man, that's a tough one. Uh, so Man, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I guess the Huskies could definitely be a really good candidate for that. I mean, they're the one I selected for this demo after all. Although there's still part of me that's kind of I like the dire wolves. The dire wolves are kind of neat because they're a little bit larger than a normal wolf, and they also have a bit more of a protective instinct. That's the way that they're designed. So if they see, for example, a zombie about to like try and attack you, they'll jump in like before any conflict actually happens. They'll jump in and they'll try and protect you. So yeah.
Awesome. Well, no one was asking me, but my favorite wolf variant would be the husky because Now I'm the parent of a UW Husky. So anyway, that was a factoid no one needed to know. But yeah, awesome stuff. I in particular love the deep dive into render controllers and client entity JSON and those kinds of things. There's a lot of power in there. Sometimes it can be a little complicated and daunting at first for people to kind of approach those JSON files. But I think you really demystified it and showed how you could do different effects and layering and those kinds of things. So I'm so happy you sort of dug into those technical details. So up next, we're going to have the Creator Team Q&A live in studio, and then you can catch JWolf later on in the Creator Roundtable. So if you have more questions, feel free to bring them to the Creator Q&A that will be in a little while. Check the schedule. But yeah, thank you so much for dropping in, JWolf, and we'll see you soon.
Oh yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks.